Hey, what is going on? I was thinking about what Sherry wrote to figure out what time zone she was in. I should know, shouldn't I? I think I've sent you a prize or two, Sherry. Good morning, Justice Warriors Justice League. Let me fix my hair. I wanted to make a stupid joke about the backwards baseball caps. I've been looking for one of those for a long time. So if anybody knows where I can find one, those are a lot cooler than the frontward baseball caps. But I don't know where you buy them. So how are you guys? I'm trying to keep out of the way so you can see the amazing chakra tower that I've worked so hard on for so long. The plant stand itself was $30. And then the globes I've collected over time, probably like $10 or less each. And then I've like put all this plant stuff on it because the plant stand is just white and I like it more kind of I don't know where the wild things are looking. So Sherry says, hi, I'm back. Lovely to see you, my dear. Thank you so much for saying hi. Oh, let me put my mic on because you know what? I think it actually does help a little bit. Here, check it out. Okay, testing. I think it kind of makes the sound sound a little bit more focused. Does that seem accurate to you guys, or is that just me and my delusions? So let's get started. Let's talk about everything that we've been talking about. I am literally just fascinated with all these cases. I kind of feel like I've rejuvenated my interest in my true crime channel by taking that quasi break, doing the yoga. It was hard to make myself do that. It took me months. And then when I did it, I always like get into whatever it is that I'm doing. I've told you guys again and again, I'm kind of all or nothing. So it's one of my strengths and Achilles heel. So I've just got to keep it in check. So in trying to finish out this yoga certification program, I've overdone it with my polishing up my master class, but that's okay. I think I haven't quite overdone it. I keep feeling like I'm right there pushing it, and then I set it down for a minute because I like literally can't see straight after I'm like doing all my notes and editing, and I'm writing all the times down because you have to know where you're at in your. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to stay focused on true crime. Focus. There's so much. I can't tell, but I'm old. What? Yeah, us women, we don't need to share our ages, right? I can't tell, but I'm old. So you mean about the sound? And it's not a very big difference, but I heard a little bit of a difference when I was reviewing yesterday's video last night. So I have a lot of notes. One of the things I do when I'm reviewing my videos is I fact check myself because, I want to be able to address it. So I did address some of it in the notes, but I was covering so much stuff. So I want to like buckle down and be more accurate fixing some of the things I said yesterday, like when I was all confused about Independence Day and Men in Black. So Will Smith was in both. Independence Day came out 2 days before Independence Day 1996. That was right after I finished my master's degree down there in San Francisco. And then Men in Black came out exactly 12 months later to the date. So that's interesting. So Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, and Men in Black is the one that I was referring to. Obviously, you guys knew that. And that's why I love you, because you keep me in check. So thank you for that. So that was 1997. And by then, my husband and I had, let's see. We'd been back up to the Seattle area. We were living in Kitsap County. I was working at a place. I'll tell you where I was working because I like to make a little joke about it. It was called Kitsap Mental Health, and I called it Kitsap Mental Hell. That's all that needs to be said. There were a lot of great things about that job, a lot of great people, both colleagues and clients alike. But it was, working in a system like that is really hard, especially as a therapist, as an art therapist. You're bound, your hands are tied to some degree. And it makes a huge difference in just how you feel like you're able to help people or not help people. I do feel like I helped a lot of people, especially that's where I did the crisis and commitment work, because I didn't feel like I was so effective in the long-term treatment. And so I got into the crisis intervention stuff and just dealing with, kind of the cut and dry hard facts. And, you're just in and you're out. Your case is your case for half of a day or something like that, give or take. And you are pretty much from start to finish all in the same day. Whereas when you're dealing with community mental health, it's just very ambiguous, and boundaries get funky, and clarification there's not a lot of, in my experience. But granted, that was the first job that I had straight out of graduate school. But I did have an amazing mentor training me in a psychiatric facility when I was finishing graduate school. And that was Ross Hospital in, Kentfield. Is that what the name of the town was? It was 111 Sir Francis Drake Boulevard, Marin County, Ross Hospital, right outside of Ross. I think the address was Kentfield. Anyway, enough about all that. How are you guys? How are you, Bex and Mary Thomas? Lovely to see you. It's been a minute, hasn't it? I like the way you wrote A2Z. That's cute. Blessings to you and chat family. Blessings to everyone. And I love you guys so much. I could just cry. I get so emotional. And like I said, I've really been missing doing this type of exchange with you guys while I was doing all my yoga video stuff. And again, I want to thank you for tolerating that. Those of you that did. I did privatize some of the yoga videos this morning, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to hide them behind a paywall. It's not like anyone wants to see them. And I just don't want people that don't know my channel to come to my channel and go, oh, it's just yoga. What? So I'm just trying to figure it out, reinventing the wheel all the time. That's kind of how I live my life. And I love sharing with you guys. I love hearing what you have to say. And yes, about the sound. Good morning, Bex and Mary. Yep, I remember that. Mary Thomas says, hello, Sherry and Mary. Oh, that's cute that the names rhyme. So yeah, I feel like we got a really good chat going yesterday. That was awesome. So awesome. And like I said, when I review my videos, one of the things that I do, I'm taking notes and I'm looking things up and cross-referencing myself so that I can figure out where my mistakes were. Like I said, that I didn't remember the ages of Prince Harry and Prince William when their mother passed away. And so I looked that up. I'm sure a lot of you guys know. Harry was 12 and William was 15. So yesterday I had just taken a shot in the dark and thought maybe Harry was 8 and maybe William was 12. What's really interesting is that 12 years old, I believe, is how old William's son is now and how old Rose Hanbury's twin boys are. And I called her Rose Hamburglar yesterday because, I always have the Hamburglar on the mind. I thought that was hilarious. I'm sure some of you caught it. Anyway, so Rose Hanbury has twin boys that are 12. And then she's got a daughter who's 8. And then we know that William also has a daughter with Kate that's 8. And of course that rhymes. Anyway, I don't want to ever accuse anybody of anything that they didn't do, but, and I'd love to be wrong, as you guys know, but I think it's important to talk about things that seem possible and suspicious. And I want to just go over my little disclaimer right here that everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of starting a conversation, always hoping to open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. And be of benefit to others as well as myself in learning and growing and understanding my own life experience. And every video that I've made to date has been made for YouTube, and it's an entertainment platform. So I've got my set really coming along, for the first year and a half of doing this. I was kind of on the go because I set up at work every day, you guys. I didn't have a studio at work. I was allowed to and encouraged to do my thing. And I set it up and tore it down every day. It was such a pain in the butt, I'm telling you. So this is really nice having a studio where I can just kind of groom it as I go and not be putting stuff in boxes. And that was just nuts. It was a workout. I'm serious. That was like my part of my workout routine was doing all that hauling. And yeah, let's just keep moving forward. Let's see. What about this? Please make sure you're still subscribed. Share a video of mine if you like it, and turn on your notification bell to ring. And I'm going to apologize for scratching my nose. I can't stand it when other content creators do that without mentioning it, or they try to like sneak it. And it's like, you can't sneak it. I mean, if I went off screen, right? But then you guys would know what I was doing since I just told you. But anyway, I usually have a fan on me when I'm live just because I tend to get really active and worked up and heated. So I like to keep my cool. And then the fan seems to activate all the pollens that are in the air right now. And I don't have a ton of like hay fever and allergies, but when I have the fan right on me, I start to get that itchy nose. So I just wanted to excuse myself for doing the it's gross. I hate watching other content creators do that. And then when I'm doing it, I'm like, and I didn't even apologize. Oh no. So I'm just going to apologize for all the times that I do it across the boards. And I try not to. And a lot of times my allergies aren't bothering me. Otherwise I'd take a medication, but I have like a loose hair that is bothering me. It's going to like totally hypnotize me. It's just one hair and it's right there. There, I grabbed it. Okay. It was unattached. Thank goodness. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at? Oh, and I caught up with what you guys were talking about yesterday. You were talking about a channel that I did know about, the Once Upon a Crime Time with Tommy, and then the guest that he had, I think that was a few days ago, Antoine. I watched the entire thing. It was like over 2 hours, but I just did it while I was taking care of some other business. And so the channel that I was like, oh no, you guys aren't talking about that channel, are you? The one that has the profile picture that was the same as Brent Kopaka's or Brent Kopak's profile picture on Facebook. The name of that channel is very similar to Once Upon a Crime Time. Those last two words are the same, and I'll just leave it at that. It's the one that I spoke about in a video, like, I don't know, a year ago, more than a year ago, something like that. And then once I spoke about it, like this brand new channel, it's a channel that started on Christmas Day after the Idaho 4. And then they hit the ground running, and they had like 5,000 subs within a few days. They had like 20,000 subs within maybe the first month. And then they were always like way ahead of the game with everything. And their first video, I think, was the still shot from the surveillance camera in the back of the Corner Club. And not a lot of content creators had that on day one. They had it on day one. I want to say that their video of it is like December 28th, and it might have been released the 27th. So they were like right there. So how did they know that? How did they have that when they didn't even have a channel? So I got really creeped out by the channel, and I won't get back into that, but I did a video about it that I have marked as like a video that plays automatically when you go to my homepage. So I'm just going to leave it there. I want to be a little bit vague, even though being pretty specific. But then that channel that was very productive and had, gobs and gobs of viewers and all this, then they suddenly stopped. making anything. And I was like, oh, well, don't think I had anything to do with that. And then they started up recently again. And so when I was looking for the Once Upon a Crime Time and trying to remember the name of the channel that I thought you guys were talking about, that I was like, cringe. Yeah, weird. Really, really weird. I still think there's something very suspicious about that channel. I don't have any suspicions about Crew Once Upon a Crime Time with Tommy and then his friend Antoine, who I found fascinating. And yeah, they were talking about stuff. A lot of it is stuff that I've talked about. My channel is so small, all my radical ideas don't really get out there. Sometimes they do, and I'm not saying that that my ideas are always that great, but I put a lot into it, and I pay attention. I have a wealth of history and understanding from life experience, from professional experience. And I try to see things clearly. I try to like let the dust settle and just focus on what's important. I'm not saying that I always see what's going on, because I don't. And sometimes it takes a really long time for me to see something. And I'm like, how did I miss that? But then I realize like that everybody missed it. And I'm like, how did all of us miss that? Are we like half asleep? And I do think that that's part of the problem, is that we have like this short attention span as a collective, as a culture, with, just too much information at our fingertips, and everything's just moving so fast. We have a very, very short attention span. It's crazy how quickly we forget things. Like, I just thought of this while reviewing the case and reviewing that Tommy and Antoine conversation. Remember what Nerdy Addict shared with us? He was the first one to share it with us about the internet going dark during the night when this happened. So that always seemed like more than a coincidence. And I don't know, because obviously people's Ring doorbell cams were still working. I'm no tech master. I don't know how all these things work. I know you have hotspots and this and that and the other, but what a weird quinky dink, right? And anyway, let me keep up with you guys. Mary Thomas says, yes, I've spent the last 6 months in hospital, but getting better now. I'm home. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry that you spent the last 6 months in the hospital, but I'm glad that you're doing better. Can I ask if you want to share, were you like in a car accident or something? Because 6 months is a really long time to be hospitalized. So that's what I'm thinking. But I'm sure there's all kinds of things. That's a really long time. Were you like in a regular hospital, or in, God forbid, one of these things that they call long care, the LTAC, long-term something care? It's like a step down, and they're kind of creepy places. They're kind of chop shops. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. I did some research. They tried to send my mom to one, and we were like, no way, Jose. So if you've never heard of an LTAC, look it up. LTAC, long-term acute care, I think. I forget what the A is for, but it's basically cheaper than a regular hospital. But when you go in there, they don't really expect you to come out, except, the one way that we all end up exiting eventually. So I do know someone who survived an LTAC, but they don't put you there unless they don't expect you to survive. So it's sort of like hospice in a way. Anyway, I'm so curious. If you want to share, Mary, if you don't, that's totally understandable. I don't ever want to, pressure anyone to put any personal information out into the interwebs. So we spoke about many cases yesterday, and there were a couple that I wanted to mention that I skipped over. One was the Gabby Petito case. I have been speaking about it lately. And then a bunch of artifacts were released, a bunch of factoids were released from that case from, I don't even like to say his name, speak of the devil and the devil shall appear. Shall we just call him the laundry douchebag? Like, that works for me, if that works for you. Um, and I just gotta say about one of the articles that they disclosed of his, it was a drawing. I think that's Mike Myers, the actor who did Austin Powers, not the other Mike Myers. And he had that character on SNL where he was like, was drawing, little British boy. Anyway, random. The drawing that Douchebag Laundry did, where he wrote all over it, ill with a K. And I was just cracking up. I mean, it's not at all funny what happened to Gabby, but it's like, you guys know that Arlo Guthrie song, or is it the Woody Guthrie song? It might be Woody Guthrie, the Alice's Restaurant. It's one of those two, father or son. And, it's a cute, funky story to music. And that's one of the things that he says in the song, is that not that he drew it, but that he just says it. And it's hilarious. And I thought, was Douchebag Laundry thinking of that when he drew this picture and put that word all over it? And as a trained art therapist, that does not indicate that somebody is going to do something dangerous. That indicates that somebody's feeling very angry and explosive, and they're getting it out on paper in a drawing, which actually kind of makes them safer than if they weren't getting it out and expressing it in that safe container. So I just thought it was hilarious. Like, that what they're trying to substantiate that he did. We know that he did that to Gabby, but what I don't believe, and what I think a fair amount of the population might not believe, is that he did that to himself. And as soon as they brought up the case on News Nation, I thought, are they trying to substantiate him being unalive? Because that whole thing was so bogus. But there were so many players involved in that, with the dry bag, and with the dental records, and with the alleged noggin remains, and then the whole thing. So in the event that he is alive somewhere, there'd be a lot of people's heads on the block. There'd be a lot of people that would fry. And I do believe that that's the case. But that's one of the reasons why, when things are unethical and corrupt, they kind of can't be undone, because there's too many people involved. So they're all going to cover for each other, because if they don't, they can all ruin each other. So it's sort of like this unspoken emotional blackmail thing. Anyway, enough about Douchebag Laundry. The other case that I had wanted to mention, but I did not, is the Helena Hutchins case, because we all know that Alec Baldwin is scheduled to have his civil trial, start next month, July. And he did not testify in Hannah Gutierrez Reed's trial, which is odd, except for that, he's special. He's a protected person, being, rich and famous, and a Baldwin and all that. But he's trying to force Hannah Gutierrez Reed, to testify at his trial. So that's interesting. I'm not sure how that's going. I haven't actually watched the content about that. I just saw some of the thumbnails, and I want to watch them. There's just not enough time in the day. So let's see. I got all my notes here. In the Kate Middleton case, I'm very concerned about domestic violence. Gabby Petito's case is obviously domestic violence. Micah Miller's case is a different type of domestic violence. I don't think we really know if there's physical violence. I mean, a lot of us suspect her ending was not her own doing. But we know that the family and the attorney had that press conference yesterday at 2:30, and I was able to watch all of it not live, but shortly after, thanks to JLR Investigates, who's just been amazing, like out there uh, pounding the pavement, talking to the Reverend, the other Reverend. What is that church? The Saint Delight. Anyway, he's just like boots on the ground, and he's so dedicated, and I respect him so much for that. I mean, he's funny. He's human. We all are, right? So we're all going to have our hopefully we're all going to have our amazing points and then our ridiculous points. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why I like YouTube, and I think why a lot of people like YouTube, because it's a much more human experience than mainstream news. And we do cover the same stuff, when we cover it with more opinion and more depth sometimes. It's crazy how glossed over mainstream media is. But back to the point about the violence, domestic violence in that relationship between JP Ultra and Micah Miller. I thought it was brilliant what the attorney and the family were presenting there. And they were really trying to back off of JP. They were really trying to back off of the blame game in the physicality of it, which is intelligent. It's like, wait until there's a thorough case built with hard evidence, right? If that happens, and I hope it does, because I think that it should. But their point was that domestic violence laws have not kept up with the times and with technology and with all the ways that someone can control you and abuse you and basically hold you hostage without laying hands on you, without physically confining you, but by shutting off your bank account, by taking your means of transportation, by telling family and friends lies about you. It was great what they were doing, and with Micah's law and with that whole thing. I mean, it was magnificent. If you got to see the press conference, and I'm sure a lot of people did, because I know a lot of people are so interested in her case. And how fabulous would that be for her tragedy to set precedents to protect so many people that get into abusive relationships like that. So yeah, let's stay caught up with the chat here. Bex, wow, hope you are much better. Oh, what's up with Bex? What did I miss? Or maybe you meant Mary Thomas. I bet you did. In my opinion, is that my dear one, Mrs. G, in my opinion? Mary Thomas says, all good. No, I'm healing from cancer stage 3 and chemo side effects. Lost 80 pounds, 4 surgeries. Now drop foot, all healing. God has been my anchor. Wow. Congratulations, Mary. That's freaking fabulous. That's really good news. And let's see, what does Annie Ruler have to say? And I got your stickers in the mail yesterday, Annie Ruler. That was so sweet. I love them, the little drip drop stickers. Saw an MSM calling Kate Middleton sacred cow. Now, do not talk badly about poor cancer Kate and being hoax. Huh. I'm not sure what you mean by all that, Annie Ruler. So, I want to take to heart if you're asking me to not talk badly about it being a hoax. I love you. And I always want to be true to myself. I think that it's possible that the cancer could be a cover for her being battered or even fatally battered. as a victim of domestic violence. So that's my concern. So I respect you. I don't want to offend you. I could be completely off. Bex was in hospital for 6 months. Oh my goodness, Bex, what were you in the hospital for? I'm okay. It was Mary. Glad you were doing better. Oh yeah. Yeah. And Mark was asking in a live of his, I think, about my dog who has had cancer. And yeah, we're getting her a checkup soon. So yeah, cancer is so scary. I think prayer is the best artillery against fighting cancer. I really do. Praying for a miracle for sure. And let's see. In these cases, Idaho 4, Kylie Rodney, Micah Miller, the cars and the phones are some of the most critical and crucial information, right? The electronic data. And that's kind of easy information to manipulate, the electronic data. You've got these forensic experts in IT, and they can delete, they can fabricate, especially, and that was before the whole artificial intelligence advancements. They can really kind of do anything they want with that. And then when they have that evidence, I think is some of the most concrete and convincing evidence. So it's pretty wild. Let's see. In my opinion, says Jazz, please, I agree. Feel like Kate is not Kate. She was gone 18 months ago. What? I don't know about that. I mean, I didn't start paying attention to it until maybe February or something like that. They feel, but cover up was cancer. Naysayers are being told, hush, cancer is serious, aka sacred cow. Huh. Mary, YouTube is a great distraction when ill, huh? Yeah, it hopefully is productive too. I mean, it's a slippery slope. It's easy for it to become just a clown car circus dog and pony show. But there's a lot of really good and really trustworthy, straightforward content creators, I believe. And let's see. Yeah, ill. Like a license to ill. Ill communication, Beastie Boys, right? So let's see. Yesterday we were talking about Amanda Knox and, her reconviction, I guess, of the slander case against Patrick. How do you say his last name? Lamamba, I think. Anyway, so her case was upheld as far as her being guilty of slander, as well it should have been. And here she was trying to clear her name of the very last charges against her that still stand. And I don't know that it's going to backfire because, people like to just gloss things over and say, oh, well, she was exonerated, so therefore she was exonerated. And, she's part of this Innocence Project now, which is just bogus. It's so sad to me to see the disintegration of the integrity of the Innocence Project. So, people like Scott Peterson trying to hop onto that bandwagon, somebody like Amanda Knox. There are a lot of people who are wrongfully convicted, but that's like the oldest story in prison. Everybody has always said that they were set up by the police and that they were wrongfully convicted. So, being able to prove that with DNA or other evidence that can be brought into the mix, like new evidence, and then cases get reopened. And that's a really close to impossible thing to do, even if it's true. So there's just so much to it. So much to it. Prediction, 18 months, remember, affair and other baby. Thank you. Yeah. Other baby, I don't know what the reference is, other than the 8-year-old girl of Rose Hanbury's. I do know what you're talking about with the alleged affair, and then that man allegedly unalived self in February, right? February 25th or something like that. If you want to put his name in the chat, it's not coming to my mind right now. But yeah, that was weird. And then William did go to that funeral, right? There's just a lot of weirdness around all of that. And like I said, I had not paid much attention to the gossip with the royals until it became this alleged cancer thing, and the weird video release, and I mean just the whole thing about like her birthday and lack of visitors, I think her husband visited her once. I don't know about her kids. I think her stepdad visited her once. She didn't have visitors, which that's weird. That's not a kosher thing. There's a lot about the case that's just absolutely bizarre. And yeah, I certainly don't want to be disrespectful. And like I said, I really respect Annie Ruler's opinion about things. And I want to read that again because I'm not sure what you're trying to say, Annie. You're usually pretty clear if you want to clarify, if you're still here and you're able. Saw an a mainstream media calling Kate Middleton sacred cow. Now do not talk badly about poor cancer Kate and being hoax. And so I'm kind of seeing your comment coming from a different perspective as what I said a minute ago, that you're kind of being sarcastic maybe and saying that that's where the mainstream media is trying to say, don't talk about the cancer and don't talk about poor Kate. And yeah, I've always felt like that it's like, that's a very taboo subject. And that's a very creepy thing to accuse somebody of not really having cancer. Although we do know that sometimes people do that. And if what's going on is what I think might be going on, it's not her putting the misinformation across, not her at all. I'm very concerned for her well-being and safety, no matter what's going on. I'm extremely concerned about her. Where is her family? Yeah. My 76-year-old partner refuses to believe Karen Reed conspiracies because of King County 30 years I didn't do it. Frustrating. So when you say King County, are you talking about Seattle? Because I worked for the King County courts and I worked there 25 years ago. And so I'm trying to think what was going on in King County 5 years prior to my working there. Unless you're talking about like King County, Massachusetts. I don't know. Let me look that up real quick because that's probably what it is. And I don't know I have not followed the Karen Reed thing at all because I don't know what to think. It's just another crap show. Let's see. I want to just Google King County, Massachusetts. Because I'm thinking that's probably what you're talking about. Well, no, this is just King County, Washington. But I put King County, Mass, MASS. And I don't know if there's a King County, Massachusetts. It doesn't look like there is. Maybe. Yeah, maybe there is. King County is Massachusetts. All right. It's just that King County Where Seattle is pretty famous. So most people have heard about King County because of Seattle. And then not a lot of us have heard about King County, Massachusetts, but generally speaking, all the states recycle the same names of their counties and their towns and all that stuff. So, yeah. Where are you at? So, the King County 30 years, I didn't do it. Frustrating. Yeah, like I said, I haven't paid a ton of attention to Karen Reed, her case. It's so I just really can't say one way or the other. Where is Kate's family? I assume you're talking about Kate, in my opinion. And yeah, you kind of answered my question inadvertently that you're not Divine Justice, aka Mrs. G, the Honey Badger. In my opinion, I live close to Canton, Massachusetts, and see, we have Canton, Ohio, and have been watching the trial. My opinion is Karen Reed is innocent. Very interesting, Bex. Very interesting. Yeah, I could kind of see that. But like I said, I have not paid enough attention to it. Oh, in my opinion, is Annie Ruler. Thank you, Miss Annie Ruler. Gotcha. Because, yeah, you had a different handle yesterday. Have you been in trouble? Is that why you're like having to change up your handle all the time? Thanks so much. MSM, yes, Kate has cancer. Vague about says MSN, yes, say Kate has cancer. Vague about treatment, but real people think 18 months was last real married sites. And yes, King County, Washington. Okay. Phew. So much confusion. I love being on my toes and trying to not get confused by the chat. So it's a challenge for me, and I love a challenge. So what in the world was going on in King County 5 years before I was employed there? Because I was employed there, I think, starting 1998 or 9. And so 1993, I mean, that's when Kurt Cobain and yeah, the King County coroner, very shady. And the chief of the King County or of the Seattle Police Department, sorry, the Seattle Police Department chief, who had been chief for 15 years and is no longer, says that he wishes that he could reopen the case. So 94 was probably, yeah, I think 94 was the year Cobain was taken out. And I always thought that it was self-unaliving until, I think it was during COVID that I kind of did a deep dive of that whole thing and was like, whoa, yeah. I thought his fans were just crazy conspiracy theorists that didn't want to live in the reality that the person that they worshipped was, pretty twisted. And yeah, he was pretty twisted, but he was brilliant. He was addicted to chemicals. He had a serious background of depression and homelessness and abandonment issues. He was born and raised in Aberdeen, which is just like 20 minutes outside of Olympia, Washington. And so I moved out to Olympia, Washington in 1987. And then I want to say that Kurt moved from Aberdeen to Olympia probably around 1989. And then they got signed in 1990. And then that was when Courtney Love met him. That was when the band moved to Seattle right around the same time that they got signed so that they could call themselves a Seattle band, because Olympia wasn't on the map, and it was cool to be from Seattle, but totally not cool to be from Olympia. So yeah. Is that what you're referring to? Is all of that with Cobain or other stuff? Because around 93, Mia Zapata was 1993. Stephanie Sargent was 1992. Kristen Pfaff was 1994, like 4 months after Kurt. So um, Stephanie Sargent was the lead singer, the lead guitarist, one or both, of 7 Year Biatch. Mia Zapata was the lead singer for the Gits, and Kristen Pfaff was the bass player for Courtney Love's band, Hole. So I've done a few videos about all that, and yeah, it all happened on Capitol Hill within like a 1 or 2 mile radius. It all happened. There's just way too many coincidences. Anyway, the coroner was somebody who allegedly was having an affair with Kurt Cobain's estranged wife, and allegedly she might have been having an affair with someone else in the Seattle Police Department. I'm not sure. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to or other things in King County 30 years ago. Annie, please do share. Please, 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 because I know you worked in the courts there and you know a lot, in my opinion. And that's your handle. I'm not saying in my opinion, I'm saying Annie Ruler. Anyway, I am muted on a different channel. Mods went wild. Sorry. Oh, man. I'm curious if you want to share what channel. I don't mind if you do, because that's just funny. Like, I don't understand. And, muting somebody, that's pretty severe. Like, if you don't like what they're saying, you can tell them that they're out of line. I mean, I haven't muted anybody, I don't think, ever. I've I don't know. Anyway, what name? I will ask my guy. What name? Bex, me too. Watched from start. Last didn't match and stayed on bumper all night and day. Google search, bingo. Oh, you guys are talking about the Karen Reed. Of course you helped people, you still do. Oh, Sherry, you're so sweet. I love when people in my chat say that I'm helping them with my YouTube, because that's just the coolest thing in the world. I love inspiring people. I was pretty young as a teenager when people first started telling me that I inspired them. And I'll tell you the story because it's kind of funny. I was maybe like an exercise anorexic. I was very cognizant of my weight, and I was like crazy about making sure that I got a ton of exercise every day. And I ran a lot, and people would tell me that I inspired them to run. And I thought that was really sweet, because I was running simply because I was afraid of being fat. And I did enjoy it. I mean, it was like a meditation to me. And I mean, it does amazing things for your mind and body. I wish that I could still do it, but my knees won't put up with it. And I do other things like the swimming, the gardening, the yoga. But I just realized at that point how awesome, how extremely awesome it was to hear somebody say that I inspired them. And then when I started being a jewelry designer in high school and started doing that as a business, and sometimes other jewelry designers would copy my designs, and my mom, I was in business with, who was also a jewelry designer, she really took it in stride, and she would just say, imitation is the highest compliment. And I've always appreciated that. So, yeah. And I like to say suffering inspiration when I have ideas that I'm trying to put out there. And then if other people take my ideas and run with them, I try to just keep it positive. On the YouTube, I've complained a little bit, I admit, about people taking my ideas and running with them when I have been pretty solidly sure that I had witnessed that with some of the channels that I used to watch that I know watched me, and my channel was so much smaller, and it seemed like the day after I said things, they would run with it. And, I mean, that's part of what YouTube is about. But all I was complaining about was like, just drop my name, just kick me some credit so that my channel can grow, because it's a small channel. And, now I'm trying to turn it into a business. And my channel's been stagnant at about 4,000 subs for a very long time. But I'm just glad to be here. I'm absolutely just glad to be here. So let's see. Courtney knew who to boink. Oh, Annie Ruler. She was so gross. So she only boinked Kurt for 2 years. Oh, it was 1992 was when she met him. It was 1990 when he got signed. Oh, man, I've always crossed my wires about that, because I saw him play at Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington, right after he got signed. And it was January or February of 1990. So nobody knew who the band was yet. And that's when they were still in Olympia. And I always thought that that was around the time that Courtney met him. But I don't know. I'll have to review my sources, because they were only together for 2 years. I mean, she completely consumed his mind, body, and spirit, in my humble opinion, in 24 months. I mean, man, she's a dangerous one, in my humble opinion. Don't come after me, Courtney. I mean, she's a snake. You don't want to mess with that one, for sure. Let's see. CJ and TNT. I know you do not care for TNT, but she does pull up FOIAs and slows videos information highway. Yeah. CJ. Who's CJ? Bex and Mary, hope you girls are hanging in there. Hi, everyone. In my humble opinion, hello. Jazz. Annie Potts has a tweet tweaked instead of retweeted by high-profile person. I told her it's a compliment. Oh, how cool is that? So you're not Annie Potts too, Annie Ruler? You guys seem a lot alike. I've gotten you guys confused in the past. So yeah, I wanted to pay more homage to the Once Upon a Crime Time with Tommy. And thank you guys so much for steering me towards that video with him having a very long conversation with Antoine. And yeah, you guys know that that's right up my alley. A lot of what they said is things that I've said and that I haven't heard a lot of other people say. Specifically, Antoine was saying that he seemed pretty solid, maybe quasi-solid, that he believes that Ellie was involved. And I was just saying that yesterday, that even if they didn't do it, if they were part of the cleanup crew, the cover-up, the damage control, the fixers, then they're just as guilty, in my opinion. So yeah, I wanted to mention too that some of the channels that I really like that cover the Idaho 4 are 1111 True Crime with Mama D. I also really like Divine Pathways. I don't mention her enough. I think it's Divine Pathways who refers to the corruption business there in Idaho as, does she call it the business? Because I like to call it the company. Like, everybody works for the company. The police work for the company. Kaylee was working for the company. And that company might be that company that was hiring her in Austin, Texas. The name of it's escaping me at the moment. You guys probably know. It was that IT company with like a high-powered name. Oh, it's bothering me. Someone cough it up. The company that Kaylee had done an internship with that did like the security for cybersecurity, the cybersecurity company. You guys remember the name of it? I'm just going to Google. I got my phone in my hands, so I'm going to check out and start fubbing. Cyber security company Kaylee. And the company was in Austin, Texas, but she had it's not coming up. Do you guys know it? Antoine, I need to watch after this. Thanks for the reminder on Tommy. Yeah, on the Once Upon a Crime Time. Tommy Jude, Once Upon a Crime Time. Creepy. I think Slayer commented to me, what do you think? Quick, when Kate entered, I said, bullet. So I thought of something while I was listening to the Antoine and Tommy speaking, and it had never crossed my mind. Again, one of these things, I'm sure other people have talked about this. Kaylee's number of wounds being upwards of 50. And then the claim that all 4 of them were taken out in just a matter of minutes. Wouldn't 50 take a matter of minutes just with one? And then, I mean, the one weapon is crazy because, yeah, it gets dull with each use, unless they had like a sharpener there with them. I mean, really ridiculous. Extreme Networks, is that the name of it? It just came to mind finally. I think it's called Extreme Networks. Oh, I love it when my brain works. Let's see, which isn't it works better when I'm doing my videos every day. It's like then my my things are firing, my electronic things in the brain, neurons. There you go. See what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Creepy. I think Slayer commented to me. Okay, I already read that one. Let me look at my notes because I did have a few things sketched out that I wanted to be sure to hit on. I wanted to talk more about Kylie. And what else? Yeah, the cleanup crew and the fixers and the company in Truckee, the Effie Truckee company. Whoa, that's some crazy crapola. And just the whole like community and that whole thing with like the double speak. Shan did a video, I mentioned it a couple days ago, probably her last live with Craney, Truckie's on the mind, Craney and Shan, where they're talking about the write-up for the Lost Trail Lodge. I think Lindsay wrote this description as an advertisement, and it's almost like it's double speak. It's almost like all of the verbiage has another meaning, and it is so gross. I'm going to put a link to that in the description because that just blew my mind. And then with that same mindset, with some of the videos that Mr. Mark Investigates has done recently, looking at the things that the woman in the purple dress would say, Angela Masalam, and again, kind of the double speak, double meaning. And, she just said so many weird things, and it's like, you don't need to say. When people say things that you don't need to say because it's like a given, that's when I'm pretty sure they're lying. Like, she talks about the law enforcement trying to help find Kylie. It's like, are they trying to help find Kylie, or are they trying to find Kylie? And then she talks about that being their sole mission. Isn't that a given? Isn't that obvious? Like, that's why they're there. That's why they've come out, is for the sole mission of finding Kylie. So, yeah. And why so many came out in droves, and then not that many over there in Grass Valley a few months later when Trinity Backus went missing. and looking at who her mother had been married to and who she was currently residing with at the time when this happened to her daughter, it's just too creepy. The Nevada County Sheriff's Department Deputy Christopher Stanio. So he was part of the search crew that was trying to help find Kylie, and that was their sole mission. He was part of that. And then 3 months later, the same thing happens to his estranged ex-wife, new girlfriend slash, she recently moved back in with him. And I highly suspect that Trinity might have been living with him too when this happened, and that's never been mentioned. Another thing that's never been mentioned, jumping over to Idaho 4, is where was Dylan hanging out that night of November 12th? Because the verbiage that Small Fry used was like that the roommates were both hanging out at separate places in the community. He used a different word, not places, separate community things. It was so weird. And then 6 weeks later, I don't think it was until the PCA, was it, that then they tried to fill in the missing 5 hours with Xana and Ethan. And all of a sudden, Bethany remembered that she was at that Sigma Chi party the whole time, and that so were they. They were there the whole time. There, the 5 hours is covered. But they never said where Dylan was, did they? So I love some of the stuff that Antoine was saying about the van with the cowboy dudes, dark gray van going by the 1122 residence on that night, the wee hours of the morning of November 13th, 2022, when I'm just thinking all the 2022. And yeah, was it the 12th or was it the 13th? It was the middle of the night. Anyway, the van that he believes is the same van that had the cowboys in it that went into the house for 5 minutes a couple of weeks afterwards in the middle of the night. Like, that was bizarre. And then, like, I go and forget about it. A lot of us go and forget about it. Like, we need to get back to that. Like, what were they doing in there? Why would they go there? What was it, 4 a.m? I mean, thank goodness, I think it was News Nation that caught them on videotape. Thank goodness somebody spotted them and videotaped it, because that's huge. That's absolutely huge. And then Antoine was saying that Dylan's dad's big black SUV goes by too. Both of these, like right around 2:58 to 3 a.m. in the police body cam footage of busting the young men that were drinking going across Banfield. So he says that the van and the SUV are going opposite directions from each other, but a couple of minutes apart. And I thought that was really wild. I'd never heard anybody talk about that. That was pretty fascinating. I'll have to check the videos. I mean, as soon as Paula Plunder got the body cam footage, and it was, time-stamped. I remember it being time-stamped 301 and thinking, like, what are the chances that they're going to have body cam footage with the Red Rum House, the slaughterhouse, in the background at exactly precisely the time that these crimes could have been occurring? And I thought, certainly, at first I thought, okay, what a wild coincidence. And certainly, hopefully, they'll have some information on the body cam footage that can help tease out what went on. And then, you had those 4 or 5 people like scurrying across the background, their silhouettes. That was weird. And then just so many weird stories. And then the whole thing with the internet, the server being down. And was it down for that whole time frame from 11:30 until 6 a.m, or just for part of that time frame? Was it down as like a routine reboot, or what? Did somebody dismantle it? Like, I've had a question off and on over the years that maybe somebody like Kopaka dismantled it. Maybe somebody that had like military background with IT, which I think he did. But yeah, trying to remember what Antoine was saying about Kopaka, because I've never thought of Kopaka as being dirty in this situation. I've thought of him as being tricked in this situation. So Antoine was saying that he thought that Brent knew too much, that he was there at the Linda Lane apartments, that's where his girlfriend lived, and that they were having a fight. But just yesterday, I came to the question again that I've come to many times, which is, who took the last pictures of the 6 roommates? I'm counting Ethan as a roommate. Who took the last pictures? Where they're Maddie's up on Kaylee's shoulders in her cute little yellow and white University of Idaho half sweatshirt. Adorable photographs, but like, did they have that on automatic timer? It doesn't look like they have a selfie stick, but they could have had an automatic timer, or somebody could have taken that photograph. But what were they doing? Isn't that taken in the Linda Lane apartment, like catwalk? I think. I don't know. All that Linda Lane apartment stuff really boggles my mind and bothers me. The whole like Linda Lane footage just has always seemed to me so much like the fire cam footage from Kylie Rodney's case, honestly. Let's see. Long-term acute care. Thank you, Sherry. Yeah, they were invented. You want to know what I found out when they tried to send my mom to them? And a lot of doctors and nurses that work within a mile of an LTAC have never heard of an LTAC. They haven't been around that long, and they were invented for learning hospitals, so that the learning hospital can keep a fatality rate of 0, and anybody who doesn't make it is automatically transferred to the LTAC. So I think that you can probably start the paperwork to transfer to the LTAC even after they're done breathing, and then it still counts as a fatality at the LTAC and not a fatality at the hospital. And I'm not speculating this. Like, look it up, because I had visited a couple of them because I was going to take the professional's advice, the social worker at the hospital that my mom was at, and have her go to an LTAC. And so my sister and I went and visited 2 of them and interviewed people that worked there, like the social worker, the director, whoever it was that would schedule an appointment with us. And then we did a bunch of research, and Google A was the one who told us everything I just told you. So we learned about that 0% passing away rate after we'd already gone in and interviewed these people and spoken with them. And we were onto them. Like, the first one we went to, the person was very deceptive. The second one we went to, we told the person that we'd already interviewed somebody at the other one, and we spoke very frankly with them about what we felt was deception. And they were very straightforward. And they were like, yeah, there's a lot of funky business going on here. So I really believe, based on my own experience, that LTACs are chop shops for trafficking parts. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion. So, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, as Rich Lux likes to say. So yeah, my receipts are usually Google and other, links that I try to put into the description. I always try to put my sources in the description so that I'm not just up here saying random things that are baseless, because to me, they're not baseless. And I can see where somebody coming into the conversation could think like, what in the world is she talking about? Where's she getting her information? So yeah, I'm fairly well educated. I try to educate myself, and I'm very open to input, very open to being corrected. I'm very open to, I mean, I know that I'm wrong sometimes, like yesterday when I was talking about Independence Day and you guys were like, no, Men in Black. I was like, wait, aren't they both in both? And yeah, Will Smith is in both, but Tommy Lee Jones is just in the one. I thought it was weird, though, when I looked them up, that they both came out on July 2nd of 1996 and 1997. I thought that was really funny. So no wonder I got my wires crossed with them. And yeah, I liked Men in Black better, I think, than Independence Day. But anyway, what a lineup in those movies. Oh, and I'm so glad I thought of it. The Big Chill. Meg Tilly was the character that was dating the deceased one, the person that they were all there to celebrate his life. Meg Tilly was the actress that played that character, and now I'm forgetting what the character's name was. It was a cute Chloe. Chloe was the character's name. And then Jeff Goldblum's character started dating her at the end of the movie. And I was saying yesterday how Meg Tilly kind of reminded me of Micah Miller's persona. And, I was looking it up on the internet, and yeah, definitely. They have a very similar physical look, and the character that she played in that movie is kind of similar to what Micah's character seems like in some of the video footage that I've seen of her. And then did I see on my little Google search that Gina Davis was in The Fly with Jeff Goldblum? And it is Goldblum. Somebody put in the chat yesterday without the second L, and I was like totally stumbling on that because I thought I had it wrong and that was accurate. So like I said, I love the way my chat keeps me on my toes. And yeah, Jeff Goldblum, Goldblum. And then they were married for a long time. They probably had kids. I don't remember, but I didn't realize that they met probably on the set of The Fly. I'll have to double check and Google that's where they met, because I was kind of assuming that when I saw that Gina Davis was in that movie with him. So I just wanted to make sure that I got the movie right and the actor right. Let's see. 11:11. Creepy. I think Slayer commented to me, what do you think they did quick when Kate entered? Okay. Eco Shield. Yes, Eco Shield is like the umbrella company that owns Extreme Networks, and they do not show up in the videos. And then I wonder, that whole company Hex, that Steve G had the Hex ball cap on in one of his first video interviews. And that's like a, kind of like Bitcoin kind of thing. I bet that ties in with EcoShield and Extreme Networks too. And you got to remember that Steve G is the IT guy for, I believe it's Kootenai County Hospital System. If it's not the Kootenai County Hospital System, it's the other one, like Latah County. I forgot about that. So yeah. Don't care for them either. Sherry Irvin. Yeah, they're, they need to be straightforward. They need to be honest with people about what they are, and not like prey on people. Like people that don't have family members, I think, are the people who get sent there a lot. Like, basically without their consent, when they're like, or maybe even with their consent, but they get tricked into it thinking that this is going to be the best thing for them. I mean, the two that we visited were so depressing. They seemed like prisons. They definitely smacked of what I was saying about the body parts. And I'm in Ohio, where there's a lot of that. I mean, there's a lot of that everywhere. It's hiding in plain sight. We just don't want to see it. Never ever said where D was. Last night, someone said Cowboy Van reappeared. I cannot remember where. D meaning Dylan. Yeah, they never tried to make a claim of where she was. And to me, that's kind of like not having a timeline of like a, secured timeline chronology of where Kylie Rodney was on the alleged last day of her existence, because that's just normal in situations like this. You're going to have everybody's timeline nailed down. And come to think of it, we don't really have good timelines for the victims in Idaho 4 either. We just have like, as if nothing happened before or during that big football game between University of Idaho and UC Davis. That was a home game. And when Idaho had gone earlier in the season to play at Davis, I think Idaho lost both times. But I think that there was somebody who was attacked with a sharp weapon in Davis that night after that football game. So that whole football game, that has to tie in with this, in my opinion. And again, it's one of those things that I forget. Because why wouldn't they mention where these people were in relationship to that football game? My guess is that everybody in the town, everybody in the school is at the football game. Sorry to wave my arm around like that. It probably made big glitches. Yeah, the football game, you guys. So the timelines of everybody in Moscow should start like at the top of the day, if not even a day or two before. But instead, the timelines all start well after the football game. The football game is never mentioned. That's sus AF. That is absolutely sus AF. So let's see. 7 p.m. was at 4 a.m. Really? Too funny. Cowboy, what time? Also, exactly what time called? Stopped at 2:53. Cops roll out of hiding. Right. So the Cowboys were on that body cam footage, I think at 2:58 is what Antoine was saying on Once Upon a Crime Time. And then, yeah, didn't they roll up to the residence at 4 a.m. a couple of weeks after? I was also looking to try to see when it was that law enforcement threw the possibility that nobody in the house was targeted, that the house itself was targeted. And it looked like that might have been around December 1st. In my memory bank, it was just a few days after the tragic slaughter. But it was just so bizarre to say that. I mean, that threw everybody for a loop. And then it was even more bizarre to try to unsay it, because you can't unsay it. And they tried really hard. They thought that they could unsay it. And no, once it's out, it's out. You said it. You know, I mean, you could say, you know, evidence is pointing to that not being the situation, but they really tried to unsay it. They really were like weird about it. Like, oh yeah, well, we shouldn't have said that. We didn't mean to say that. We don't even know what we were talking about. I don't even know what city I'm in. I mean, they were just goofy, very unprofessional. And yeah, was it you guys yesterday in my chat saying that they were sort of like just blowed up security guards at the college? And yeah, kind of, because it's a small town and the university is like almost the size of the town. So like almost half of the population. And I think that they used to have, do they have campus security, or is it just the police that are the campus security? Because obviously Wazoo has a whole police department for their university, which is much bigger. That university is like 25,000, which is the size of Moscow and the University of Idaho all put together. But then Pullman is only like another 10,000. And so they have their own Pullman Police Department. So they've got the two departments there in Pullman. And then in Moscow, they just have the one department. And then the Moscow PD has like a kind of like a security guard office on campus. And they have their specified officer liaison. And I don't remember if they have a security outside of law enforcement. I think it's just law enforcement. But what I really want to mention before I forget, hey Mark, hello, hello. Now my brain is blank. Just kidding. Jazz, yes, tissue type and shop organs. Oh, gross. I hate thinking of those things. I mean, there's the flip side of it, which is that when there's donations made legally, it can save lives, but it just so quickly becomes a black market and warped and sci-fi like, in my opinion. EcoShield, for all we know, students are in the videos all over. EcoShield deletes them. Well, and where does EcoShield tie into what I was just saying and what, in my opinion, had just typed up there, in my opinion? And yeah, how does Hex and Steve G's job tie in with that? And then Bethany Funk and Cody Funk, who isn't he like a relative of hers? Cody Funk was the young-ish man who was the coroner for Kootenai County, I think. Coroner or medical examiner, right? Or did they just happen to have the same name? That's been like a year, I forget. But, there's a big element of medical research done at the University of Idaho. I've always had a feeling that there's a big element of fertility research done at the University of Idaho, and that perhaps, possibly, Ethan and his triplet siblings could tie into that. And that could be what ties the Chapin family into that. And yeah, there's so much weirdness with the Chapin family sending their two other triplet children back to the school that consumed their triplet brother. I mean, I just can't help but put it like that. It's really sick. I mean, I would think like Bethany and Dylan, like you'd want to hightail it. And then Xana's sister was a student at the University of Washington at Pullman. Maddie's biological, no, Xana's biological mother lived in Pullman. Maddie's family, I think they lived locally, not too far from where Kaylee's family lived, but her parents were divorced. And then one of her, was it her dad who lived like in Nevada or something? He lived kind of far away because he was the one. Was he the one who came and fixed the doorknobs or the locks on the door? No. I'm sorry. I'm crossing all my wires. That was Xana's father. So Xana's father, I think he lived out of state, and he came and fixed the locks on the doors. So what does that have to do with anything? Because that was just like a week or two before when he was there fixing the lock. And was that the lock on her door? Was that the lock on the front door? Was it both? I know all this has been brought up, but it's been a long time. So, anywho, so nice of you guys to be here. Thanks so much. And let me grab my creepy thumb. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do. Mr. Creepy Thumb is always happy to see you. And I'm always happy to see Mr. Creepy Thumb. That white one that I had for a little bit. Yeah, that was super creepy. I had to get rid of that. I was like, why do I still have this? It's gross. I don't know what it was about it that just, ugh. Anyway. So yeah, we're getting close to an hour and a half. I was going to try to keep the video under an hour because I don't want to be, making long videos if not a lot of people are watching them, but I'm trying to get my viewership back up. So if you think this video was decent, please share it with people. Please, I beg of you. I'm really trying to get this channel, breathe some new life into it. So I'm just so happy that I have this channel. I'm so happy that I've had it for almost a couple of years now. I'm so happy to have you guys as my supporters and viewers, and I just can't thank you enough for being here, whether you're here live or on the replay crew. All is good. Love to you guys. So yeah, let me read your last couple of comments and then try to wrap her up. I worked at nice nursing facility in 78, 77, 78, overworked, underpaid. I was good, but lazy smokers. I just cleaned their patients because I cared. Awful. Ooh, yikes. Yeah, that's so crappy. No pun intended. Unsure if Coroner Funk has been tied, nor Funk Auto Detail, where BK actually pulled into, and the dumpster that the Moscow PD says on tape is related. So we need to talk about Maui for a second, because I saw the MPD and thought of Maui PD. And I think we need to talk about the brains on the dumpsters. Brain on the dumpster. We haven't talked about that in a long time, and I think that's extremely significant and whack as could be. Whack AF. So let me read that one again. Unsure if Coroner Funk has been tied, nor Funk Auto Detail, where BK actually pulled into dumpster that Moscow PD says on tape. Is it related? Very good question, Ms. Annie Ruler. Xana's dad was Arizona. Awesome. Thank you. I knew that. It's just been so long. Trying to get those neurons firing again. Dad, her door, tightened doorknob. Allegedly, HJ girlfriend Emily kept creeping in. Allegedly. Hunter Johnson's girlfriend Emily. I've never heard that. And that would make a lot of sense. Because then her brother tied in with some weird stuff. Did her brother tie in with Emma Bailey? I forget. There was some creepy stuff with Emily's brother. And didn't they live in the house like right up behind the 1122 King Road, where maybe the alleged camera crew was set up in the street in front of that house the night that this happened? You know, the students that were just making a movie. Oh, too much weird stuff. Hi everyone, Annabees. I've been here trying to sleep. I have a night shift. Great live as always. Oh, you're so sweet. Nice to see you. Glad to see you before signing off. So yeah, that's the last case I want to mention before signing off is the Maui, the Lahaina fire, you guys. I saw a video yesterday from Riz Flex that said she was reading an article from the internet that said that the fire chief of the Maui Fire Department was investigated for pedo stuff. So that did not surprise me. I mean, it just brought it all back to like the whole crazy conspiracy with the school buses and the schools, and we don't want to go there again, do we? I mean, the whole thing with the Maui fires and the smart city, you know, we kind of got caught up in the whole smart city conversation, and then the trafficking part of the conversation just kind of fell by the wayside in my estimation. Yes, Emily even lived at 1122 previous semester. Wow. Thank you so much, Annie Ruler. You are always such a wealth of information. Dang, girl, you are just on it. And I vaguely remember hearing that probably like once. And yeah, there's so much information. It just gets so overwhelming. And yeah, we got to stay on our toes. We got to stay on our toes to get justice for these victims. We've got to stay on our toes to expose corruption. We got to stay on our toes to just continue to fight for peace, as I like to say, because you do have to fight for peace. And yeah, the whole thing with Maui is so freaking crazy and so tragic. And, I don't think that many people really care because it's far away. It's hard for people to relate to it. It's such an exquisite, expensive, exotic place that most of us just can't even wrap our minds around how people could live there and be suffering, because it's like Dubai, right? I mean, seriously. Seriously. All right, you guys, I am going to sign off. It is the 6th of July, 2024. So that's almost 666. Oh, no. Speaking of which, the content creator for that channel, 666 Minutes of Mayhem, Red Rum and Mayhem, I think. You guys know the channel I'm talking about. I heard on Jules of All Trades chat the night before last that he's hospitalized. So let's pray for that content creator that he's doing better. And yeah, there's definitely a Titanic element to these hideous unalivings in Idaho and also with Kylie. Even Maui, come to think of it. My goodness. Obviously with the Royals and getting into the Amanda Knox case, there was probably some weird, creepy stuff like that. I mean, that was kind of where the Italian police started, was that type of thing. And then the like kinky, creepy games going wrong, which I don't really think it was creepy games going wrong. I think it was a targeted attack against Meredith, and I think that there was that element, but I think that was part of the torture, part of the plan, part of the humiliation. Yeah, absolutely tragic. And thank goodness Amanda Knox did not get cleared of her wrongdoing against Patrick Lumumba. Sorry, you know how I am. Once I cross my wires, they're crossed forever. Yeah, Micah Miller and her family and them fighting for her justice and being very intelligent with the attorney yesterday and backing off of people crucifying JP. It's a little bit early for that, and they're just trying to, I think, keep there from being like a slander lawsuit against anybody for him, because we know that's where he wants it to go. So yeah, I think that's about it for today. Let's see. The cleanup crew, the fixers, the company. I'm going to put the link to Riz Flex's video into the description so you guys can see what is going on with that. Yeah, please pay attention to what's going on with Maui. I think that it's not only important for Maui, I think it's important for everywhere, because an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere, or something like that is Martin Luther King's quote. An injustice anywhere threatens justice everywhere. And if they can get away with things there, if this whole thing was planned, which it seems to me like it was a planned attack to commandeer that Lahaina property, if they can do it there, what's going to stop them from doing it in your backyard, in my backyard, right where I live, So yes, not to end on such a Debbie Downer note, let's always try to stay positive and do what we can right now, right here, right now, to help lift our own spirits and lift the spirits of those around us. Love and light, eat well, stay hydrated, exercise, get your rest, be kind, be considerate, and pay attention to the chakra tower, because that's supposed to do some type of magical realigning for all of us, right? It's there to hypnotize us into wellness. I hadn't really thought about it, but that could be, right? Um, anyway, seeing red flags. I was reporting from my couch. Cute. Yes, and the elites are buying up all the land. If cheap too. They're cheap bastards, aren't they? They won't pay full price. They want to get a bargain. Because there's, like I said yesterday, there's never enough money for these people. There's never enough attention for these people. They're just bottomless pits of greed. So on that, let's all remember that sharing is caring. Isn't that what Teletubbies or Barney once said? I think it was Barney. Anyway, there's all that Barney conspiracy stuff. Remember that? That was funny. So love and light, you guys. Peace out. See you on the next one and have a lovely day. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.